Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for being here. LCA, the name from the company says itself. We are working with LCA, but we are trying to make it easy for the company to use it because there is a tremendous amount of data coming in from research all over the world. So the fact is that we need tools and we need it digitalized to actually use it. Otherwise, it will be documents for documents itself and not documents to be used. So, who are we? We are actually established, even if we are a software company, we are established by a research company in 2016. We have 35 years of experience doing this environmental documentation. We have used LCA the whole time. Because of the international standard. And when we are saying LCA, it is the standard of producing, let's say, the method. It is a method that is important because that can be comparable. Then the result can also be comparable at the end. We have used this for a long time. Even now, there is a lot of tools that are based on Excel, Microsoft Excel. It is a really good tool to start with. And we started with it in the beginning of 2000 to make documentation for EPDs for the concrete industry in Norway. They were really fast out and wanted to declare what they were using because EPD has this good thing that this is a neutral documentation of what is the performance of the product in the production, in the use, in the installation, in the use phase, and in the afterlife phase. So it's a really nice way of having a neutral documentation of what your product actually have causing and will cause of an environmental impact. So we started to use that in the beginning of 2000. I came in 2009 as a managing director for this research company, and I saw that from my background in the software industry, I saw that this can't be like this. We can't send out several hundreds Excel spreadsheets for people that want to use this to declare their environmental impact. We need to put it in the cloud. So we started to transform all the knowledge we had of creating this documentation. And remember, this documentation was created to not do the LCA over and over again. If it was done once and it should be reused, the system should reuse it and not the researchers. The researchers didn't want to do it over again. So we was simplifying the whole process even then. And then we took this knowledge and we put it into a software product, a software as a service on the cloud. And we launched the first web-based, let's say, greenhouse gas tool in 2012. In 2013, we launched the first web-based tool for an EPD generator, all based on the LCA in the bottom. We have some other tools that also can come in that are cooperating with the EPD generator. But in 2016, the Norwegian government came to us and said that you can't be a research company and a software company at the same time. You have to split these companies up. So we did that, and in 2018, we had some private investors coming in and took the software company out. So we are now completely split, but we are still working really closely, not only to this research company that gave us the birth, we are also had a huge cooperation with research industry actually all over Europe, also here in Italy, which have verifiers and also LCA team that work together with us. Because that is actually the biggest, let's say, lack of competence. It is the LCA teams. It is a lack of LCA competence all over Europe and all over the world. So we need to work together to get all this done. What is interesting about this lifetime here is the thing that is happening in Norway, particular in around 2019. Then we get a really good and fast growth in use of the EPDs. And it was not only because of the tool that was coming out there, it was actually the demand from the customer. And it has not been a law to let's say, have an EPD to do business. In Norway, it was the customer that was starting to demand it. So they had to create EPDs actually to be licensed to operate. Like Håkon was saying earlier, but it was not regulated in a law. It was the customer's demand. And that was the really nice drive that was coming. It was the big customer say, you have to declare the products we are going to use. In 2022, we launched the fifth generation of the tool. And I will go a little bit further into some numbers. There are more than 700, let's say, businesses now using the tool, spread all over Europe. And if we look at the numbers also in the published EPD, they don't look that high. It is about 2,500 plus published EPDs. But the system itself have created more than 10,000 project-based EPDs directly in business-to-business relations. And I will explain how this is done, because this is what digitalization is doing. It is making it more efficient to create the documentation even in a project-based level. We have more than 2,700 users and over 28 unique tools. We are working closely together with all the associations in Norway, especially in the construction industry and building industry, so they can prepare a special tool for their members, for their companies. And we also work internationally. We didn't in the beginning, it was actually the customer that was taking us out. We have big customers at Saint-Gobain that wants this to be done in all their factories. Jotun are having factories all over the world. So the customer took us internationally. And so now we are establishing ourselves also in different countries. It is a fact that we can't do it by ourselves. As a company. We can't go in. We can hire LCA consultants and we can make all the LCAs for all the products that we have, and then we can create the document, but it will take you time, it will take you money, and it will never be efficient enough. So what we saw is that we need to do some work in the beginning. When we establish a customer link, we need to do actually a work in the beginning together with the customer. So we have a strong LCA team, but we always want to work with other LCA team to create these LCAs. Because this gives us the data sets on products, on raw material that are not EPDs yet. Because there are too few EPDs. So we need to do the LCA to have verified data even if they are not EPDs. In the glamorous good future world, everything will be EPDs or PDF, whatever we will call the documentation, digital documentation. It doesn't matter that much. What matters is that we have a comparable and equal documentation for what we are doing, we are creating it for. So what we need is to have a tool easy for the industry to use. And we have made a tool that is so easy that we have a small company driving ready-mixed concrete in a car with 2 employees, father and son, and they can create an EPD for each load they are shipping out on their car. And we have companies that are having production sites all over the world using the same system. So it is easy to create the documentation, but it needs to be prepared before we start to use it. That is what our LCA team is doing. But now when we have the system up and running, the things that they are putting into the system is only the numbers on their own production, which they know quite much themselves. They know it even better than us. They know how much different kinds of raw material they have. And they can put that into the system. And our system is creating everything that is needed of the documentation because we have prepared it and it is verified. It is not only the data that is verified, it is also the algorithms, the way of calculating things that are verified according to the PCR that this customer is going to use. So we have made it a ready platform for the user and not for everything around, not for the researchers, not for let's say, the government. They can use it, but it is for the industry itself that needs to document what they are doing. We have a suite of softwares, but it's all depending on the lowest part here, which is called LCA Tools database that is verified. All the data we have in here is going to be third-party verified. It is not by us, it is by somebody else. That also means that we can work together with anyone that have the knowledge of creating an EPD according to a certain PCR. So if there is a research company here in Italy that are closer to the customers that we are going to use, we are establishing collaboration with them so they can do the LCA, and we get it third-party verified and into the system. Then we have the EPD generator, which actually are creating the verified documentation. But we also have a lot of systems on top of that again that makes it possible to use this verified documentation to create new things. For instance, the LCA analyzing part, which gives you a possibility to analyze your product against, let's say, a different product, but that you can also compare it against your own product if you change something. If you change the raw material, you can just switch it, and you can press analyze, and you can see what will be the effect of this, and then you can calculate, let's say, last year of production of that product, and you can see what will be the benefit if we change it now. It can also be if you change electricity mix, and you can see what will be the effect of doing that. You can change your transport system. You can change every input that you have according to the EPD that is verified to try to improve yourself. And what is really good about this and what we see about our customers is that when they start to use it, it takes maybe 3 or 4 months, and then they are moving this, let's say, part of the documentation in the company from, let's say, the sales or the documentation center or the IT center of that company and moving it into product development. They are using it into product to innovate and to do better. And also the customer that I used it for a while, they are starting to talk with the program operator and say, we don't want to have a validation that goes for the EPDs that is online for 5 years or 3 years. They want to update and republish the EPD when they have found a new way of doing things that are improving the impact. They want to do it right away. And that is also a benefit with the digitalization process. It is that you actually can, when you have done something that gives you a better performance, you can publish it and you can show everyone on the public side that what we are doing and what we're doing right. We also have this project, I will come in a little bit more into that afterwards. We have something called a route planner that all logistics can go in, and you can actually find out what is the best way of transporting your goods from one place to another. There is a lot of these different types of transporting. And there is also this, you need to work together with the logistics company that are mixing their load and all these kind of things. We have put everything in there so you can actually use this based on all verified data for transport to calculate the right impact of the transport that you are using. Even if you are not only having, let's say, 15% of the load that is transported from A to B, you get your part of that load. We have also analytics and management on the business level, because we see that the biggest companies that we have, they want to compare the factories. They want to have it in a dashboard and see who is performing the best. We actually have some of the companies that don't want to talk to each other because management on top, they actually want them to compete against each other on this dashboard level, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, to see who is improving the most. And of course, we have an integration portal because it's digitalized. We also have put another layer on top of here that we call value-added apps, because we will not be able to focusing on all the things that our customers needs. So the customer can have others creating a nice application for them, tap into our system through the integration portal, and they can use all the data that is for this customer, and they can use it for displaying, they can use it for anything they want. ERP systems, I will give a small example of that later. But it is not necessarily to be our system. It can be others that tap into it and use it for their own purpose. So if you go a little bit more into detail, if this was working.
You don't go into detail.
No, the system didn't want me to go into detail. Normally I point the screen, but that is not necessary here. I will point some. Okay. Anyone have a...
No?
Can you help us, please? Ci può aiutare? Non va?
In Norway, we have something called the Swedish button. It was when everything goes wrong, you just push the on and off button, and then everything goes back again. But the Swedish people, they don't like that. We put it like that. So I think they will. You can do it like this. It is the Swedish button. I take the battery out. Ah, somebody made a difference.
Okay. Now work. Okay. Don't repeat all.
I want to talk. I have the audience. I want to talk. Okay, we are also a company that are not want to let's say create applications for everything that is going vertical in the value chain, because we saw when we were starting to create these EPDs that the biggest challenge was actually to get somebody to use it, because in the beginning it will always be okay. You have a EPD, you are checked, you are licensed to operate. You can give it a tender and you are operating. In Norway now we see a tremendous difference. Like Veidekke and S.p.a. was saying, the numbers are now being used. And the result of that is that everyone that are producing these products that are going into the tender, they suddenly want to be part of everything. It is not going to be a static EPD anymore, because they want to have the best result for this project to actually win the tender. Which means that we need to create EPDs for everything as fast as we can, and get the tender that is owning the tender be able to get the right EPDs for this tender, and not a static EPD that is laying somewhere. And it's the result that we see. When you start to use the numbers, and especially when you're calculating money on that, they will have the best result. So what we have seen now is that we need to concentrate on the horizontal value chain between each actor in this value chain. That's why we call it event-based data flow. We need to have created EPDs. We have raw material into the EPDs. We have the EPDs going to production. We have EPDs going to a customer or to a new production if it is a semi-finished product. Then we go out to the construction and building, and we need to put actually something in there as well. All the EPDs have something that you can define, and it's also the user phase. We have also something in the reuse and recycling that is starting to be more and more important, especially for the long-life product. If you have a product for 60 years of lifetime or 100 years of lifetime, you actually want to see already now what can be the benefit of using this product after life. And that will, after my opinion, that will be the way of actually calculating the value of constructions in the future. It will be, what can this material be used for in the future? If you put the, no, I don't believe this. Okay. If we put this into to see how it's working, we have the EPD generator, and remember all the data sets that is in there. It is verified by a third party. You're creating the EPD. This was for concrete pipes. And then you can share that EPD. You can publish it. You can publish it. This is taking actually faster in the system over to EPD Norway than it is by sending the signal back and forth.
Per favore, no.
Maybe it is as easy.
Non possiamo usare il computer magari invece che il...
Trond, if you want to sit there on the PC, probably you can switch
that is
with the PC. It's more easier.
Thank you.
Okay.
Works better.
This was better.
Okay.
At least I got a computer in front of me. Now I'm happy. Okay. Yes. We have the EPD generator on with a verified data. It can be data that are created by anyone that are using LCA. It's put into the database. It is verified also into the database, and all the algorithms are verified after that. So we are creating the EPD by having, you say here is a snapshot of the system. You have a list of all the EPDs you are working on. Unverified EPDs that are sent for verification. That verification process is different from the type of license that you have. We have from verification that needs to be sent to a third-party verifier, but we also have a system that the whole system, including the company itself, are verified to do this work by themselves. That means that you can send it to a second person in your company that are suitable or are verified themselves to do this process. So you can send it to a third-party verification process outside the system or inside the system. You have in the verified EPDs, you can actually decide what to do with it. You can either publish it, you can go in and you can send it to a project. You can actually also transfer the EPD to your customer as it is, because there is something coming up now called branding EPD. If you have you are producing products that are branded for a different type of, it's the same product, but it's branded in two different customers. They are branding it differently in the label they are selling it on. So you can actually publish different EPDs for the branding you have. You also have data sets EPD that can be used in another EPD. It is not the published EPD, but it is verified data sets, for instance, for A1, which are the material list into the EPD. You can get that verified, and you can use that complete list into another EPD. So if you have a mix that you are using all the time, and all this is done to make it easier to create the EPD. We think an EPD should be able to be created in just a few minutes if you know everything that you have inside there. And if you have done one already, it should be really fast to do. So you can publish it to EPD Norway or EPD Italy. You can share it. And sharing is like sharing a document in Teams in Microsoft. That is the easiest way I can say it. You can share it with LCA tools, other LCA tools. You can share it with an ERP system. And why should you do that? An ERP system have the location of where it's going to be sent. We have a route planner inside the EPD generator. So actually you can, by using the ERP integration, you can get the transport distance and the transport method out to the customer automatically inputted in A4 in transport out to the customer. I think I did something. You can also integrate it towards bill of materials. So if you have a production system, and this is all what I'm saying now is done, so it's nothing that you can. We have customers that have the complete production system integrated towards the A1 in our EPD generator. So every single item, we have a big window producer that every single item that is coming out is produced to a project and have a single EPD on each window. You can also, of course, integrate it towards BIM. That has been a buzzword for a lot of years, this BIM. We have a company that are producing these concrete elements for tunnels that are integrating everything towards the BIM system. That can actually also have an EPD on each element that is inside the tunnel, because it can be different on each part of the tunnel. Then you can build the EPD. This system can actually build it. since we have a last check that this is correct before we send it out and it's getting verified, we can let other systems actually build the EPDs. So if you have let's say, a construction system, there are a lot of these insulation manufacturers that have this calculator online, so you can calculate how much material do I need. That could actually also be integrated directly here, so you can get the CO2 emissions right out in the calculator if you want. And then you have this project-based EPD. It is a rule saying that if you have a project-based EPD, it should always reference to a published EPD because of transparency. You need to show that this is the real thing so you can be looked after. But the project-based EPD is also something that you can share with other systems. I've only put LCA up here because that is the only place we have this integration now. Other than that is going out as a simply ISO 22057, but this ISO standard is so new that there is not that many systems that are starting to use it yet. But that will be the future. They can just share it with this ISO 22057 and the next system will actually pick it up and will use it. And of course the analyze of the EPD, which most of the customers really, really love. They have built it themselves, and they can drill down on every part of the EPD to find out where is the impact. So if they want to see transport material, see where is the impact and what can be improved. And I think that is the best way of actually looking at the EPD. It is not only to communicate it, it is to work with it in your own organization to improve yourself. And as I said, this is done. Just here to prove that. We have one customer, it's an Italian customer, Prysmian Group. They are creating EPDs in a digital format in our system, sending it to a wholesaler in Norway. We actually are putting in, a wholesaler doesn't necessarily have to do any production, but they also have an impact. So they are putting their impact into the EPD, and they can also publish it, because they've got a verified EPD into their system as a product. They put their own impact into it, they publish it. They can also work together with their customers so they get a project-based EPD, and then they send it to Tensi, which are a power supplier in Norway, and they are installing all these wires and electricity transport infrastructure. And what they also are doing is that they are going into these phases with A1 to A5, which are all the way to installation, but they also are looking at the user phase. So together with Prysmian, they can now monitor if this description on that wire they were putting up, the loss of electricity, everything, if that is according to what they said after the installation. And they also can actually have this as a, raw material storage for the next, the next circle for Prysmian Group, when they can go in and they can take this material back and they can produce new cables. All of this can be in the system at the same time. If we go into just the project, we saw that if we are going to get this used, and not only by anyone taking the numbers out and putting it into an Excel spreadsheet and they calculate every numbers and then make decisions, we need to also go into the entrepreneurs and the contractors that actually are going to use these EPDs. Because now the regulations are saying they need to get a climate accounting system for their work. So we need also the material in. So we made a new, horizontal value chain only for the entrepreneurs and the contractors, that we made up a LCA project that are taking, a monitoring. You can give a tender and you can monitor that tender if it turns into a contract to see how things was established for getting the tender and how you actually performed afterwards. you have something called simplified tender, and all these are templates. So when I was looking at the ministry was here, and they say this is the rules of giving the tender, I actually could see easily that we can go in and we can make a template exactly for this tender type. So we can have a way of working together. And also remember that everything here is shared. I will show you a little bit of that. But if you come to a contract, you then go into a phase where you can actually monitor this. And after a project is done, you have the green gas reporting, also digitalized. And you can share, as a contractor, you can share your project at all times. And if the owner of the project wants to monitor you, instead of sending a report every week or every month, they can have it in their own dashboard saying how this project is doing right now. If there is, because we see that it's always a debate of the data that is underneath. That is the biggest challenge. Everybody needs to trust the data to actually to be able to trust the value chain. So in every step, we have the possibility of giving access, or our customer can give access to somebody that go in and check what they are doing. Also digitalized. So you can go in and you can check it, and that will be, let's say, verified for that purpose that you're in. It is not verifying a EPD, but it is the same kind of method. We give access to somebody, check it, and put the digital stamp on it. We have found it okay. So if there is a debate, we can give access to a third party. We can also integrate the LCA project towards any system that also the EPD generator can be integrated towards. So if you have a complete project that you want to have a BIM model to configure it themselves, you can establish a project with all the material that is going to be used to construct the bridge, and then this project is shared with the modeling people that is actually designing it, so they can check both the product description of how the material are working and also the environmental impact of using the different things. And they can get that when they are modeling the bridge, they can get that up. And then, of course, the EPD generator are integrated. The project system can request a project EPD, and they get a shared project EPD into the system without having to do any entering. It is just coming into the system, and they can just key in the numbers that they have. So in the tender, they will get also the real EPD for this tender. And when they execute it, when the contract is there and they started to execute it, they can, at the same time, they can just get in every information about the product list into their system, because they are monitoring all the activities that are doing. We can also integrate towards other program operators and also other EPD providers. If it is a EPD that is verified, we can put it into the system. It doesn't have to be through us. And this ISO 22057, when that is going to be used, there will be a lot of these tools that can be used. I mean, if they can use this 22057, we can integrate towards it, because we are already there, that it's ready. And of course, this sharing of the project, the owner of the tender seems to be a lot more focusing on this, because they can actually have a project that have a sub-project underneath. So they can monitor everything on top. And also on the tender phase, they can take every quote they get in, and they can put it beside each other, and they can see who have the best performance when it comes to environmental impact. And they can choose behind on that. So the sharing of the project and the sharing of EPDs, the sharing of information, it is really working through the whole system. But there is one rule, and that is the owner of the data is also the owner of the sharing. So no one can get your information unless you share it. Like in Teams, if you share it, you can also unshare it and take it away. It is the same here. So there is no danger of that you are going to lose something. You will always be able to take control of your own data. that is also the data that are calculated and produced into the system. It will always be the customer's data. We are not going to build a database simply because we don't believe in a static database. This is live data. It is also live production. If you're producing the same product in two different parts of the world, you will have two different EPDs. You can't get away from that. So this is live. The digitalization gives us the possibility of doing that. And the digitalization gives us the opportunity to automate what can be automized. So it doesn't say that we should automate everything, but we need to go that way. And now we are part of an AI group in Norway that are looking into using environmental data, verified environmental data, into all AI systems that are going to, for instance, control a smart building or a smart infrastructure. So you can use the data that is there. And also that we can give a possibility to update data after it's been installed. Because we have all our knowledge are saying that when something is installed, we stop. But the possibility of the products that is installed either in a house or infrastructure, the possibility of reusing it or recycling that will depend on technology that is on the present time. That means that this is also alive, even if it is installed. It will always be urban mining put into system, because this is the value of this product. I can see that somebody is saying I should stop now, because this is the last slide. I just want to share a little bit of the say, knowledge that we have had all these years. We have put this into action in Norway. It is that it is good to document. It is really good to have everything as updated as we can. But the value chain that are working closely together are the value chains that are getting and reaching the goals, the sustainability goals, fastest. And that leaves us up to, it doesn't matter if you can share everything, because if you share everything, you actually will reach the goal for the whole value chain. And also products that, if you look at only the product, are having a higher impact, can win when you look at the whole value chain, because it has a better performance during the use, especially in products that is going to be there for a long time. That was my... If there is afternoon session, I can have a demonstration of the system if somebody wants that.
I think I will just add a few things before Lorenzo will wrap up, because sometimes you are interested in numbers. And I will just share the numbers from the Norwegian EPD Foundation with you, that more than 80% of all EPDs coming into EPD Norway are generated by automated tools. More than 80%. That's a quite large number. And we have plugged in this solution into our management system, and that means that the EPDs are sent automatically from the automated tools to us, and we will approve and publish. And if it's let's say if it's a normal customer, it takes maybe 2-3 hours to generate a complete EPD. It's sent automatically to EPD Norway. We spend maybe 1 day. That can be reduced, of course, but let's say 2 days in total from you start working with an EPD till it's approved and published. 2 days, and that is a long time. How can we do 2 days if we talk about 4 millions? But anyway, 2 days maximum, and that will be reduced. Normally, if you think about the old way of handling EPDs, it doesn't take 2 days. It takes 2 months, 4 months. You have to collect data, you have to do everything semi-manually, and it's done really manual. And then you have to make some kind of digitalization process at end. And think 2 days versus 2 months, the man hours, the cost, the efficiency, it doesn't really make sense. So this is basically how we are building our future, automation and digitalization. I'm also representing Eco Platform, and we have something called Eco Portal. Eco Portal is the digital portal for all EPDs through the EPD program operators in Europe. Right now, I think EPD Norway, and we are a small country, we represent 50% of all digital EPDs in Europe. Think about that. 4 million people representing 50% of all digital EPDs in Europe. And the only reason for that is that we have done this automation and digitalization process. And we are just at the starting point. But I think, at least from my point of view, these numbers are basically telling that automation and digitalization is the future. Of course, to handle volume, but also from the cost and time perspective. And the good thing is that it's a working solution, that we can still be much better, we can still optimize, and we can make it faster and smoother, of course. But think about that, 2 days, starting to create an EPD until it's published and approved and can be used in whatever, versus 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And the costs are going down dramatically. I mean, again, from the EPD Norway's point of view, by doing this automation internally, we are, let's say, I believe that we are the most cost-effective EPD program operator in Europe, and the only reason for that is due to automation. And again, cost is essential. Think about all the small and medium-sized businesses that really need to develop EPDs in the future, and they cannot spend 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 euros to do that per EPD. It's too high amount. It has to go down, and the only way to handle the increased volume and not give that burden for cost is again automation and digitalization. That is the key issue, and that is the key issue for today, of course. And I'm really looking forward to the more, let's say, you will probably show some more in the session after lunch how it's done. But we know it's working. It's at least from my point of view, giving small and medium-sized businesses the tool in order to enter this little bit complicated EPD world, but it's also giving the whole value chain the same format, the same way of handling digital information in a verified way and in a very automated way. So at least from my point of view, the numbers are telling me the facts and the truth that this is actually good and it's working and it's the future. Now, Lorenzo.
Thank you, Akon. I agree completely with the view of Akon. In Italy, it's the same. We have an increasing of EPDs published due to the LCA2 and the EPD tools. And we do the same. We have accredited this process, and we see that the companies use this possibility to publish their EPDs. We have the EPD tools that, in that case, we don't check every EPD. We check the system, and we can publish and check on sampling some EPDs just to verify that the algorithm work well. And considering the presentation of Trond, I think that from my point of view, I think that I remember a slide when you showed your tool connected with Solibri. Solibri, it's a beam checking model, okay, and it's very used, and it's a software that has interoperability with all the most powerful and used BIM model, Revit, Trimble, and so on. So this is for me very important, because I think that today it's difficult to imagine and to apply the integration between the BIM model and the LCA tool to calculate how what is the best performance of the project, comparing materials or solution and so on. So I think that if you can change something in BIM and you can integrate with your tool, and make an immediate comparison of a project solution or different materials, it's very powerful to understand what is the gain in environmental impact of your project. This is, for me, very, very interesting, and I suppose that in the technical session this afternoon you will discuss with the participants about this expert as this idea. In the early afternoon we will see an experience of a company in Italy, Tecne, that are working on that, and I think that it's very important to understand this concept. Thank you for that. Okay, so we are arrived at the most important part of the conference. Why do you laugh? We have the light lunch, okay, and we plan to have an hour and a half, but because the lunch is small, we can use only an hour and start again at 2 o'clock. Thank you for that.